Africa's large media group, Independent News and Media, with prominent brands like The Star, The Sunday Independent, as well as The Cape Times. Let's talk now to Professor Anton Harber, Caxton Professor of Journalism and Media Studies and Director of Journalism Program at WITS, who's on the line for me this morning. Professor Harber, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Well, you were among the first to call for transparency about the composition of the consortium. Then it was made, we know the announcement now. What's your reaction?
It's an interesting consortium. We know more about it now, and there's some interesting things to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
If the critical factor is introducing diversity, well, it certainly does that. It introduced a number of new and interesting media owners, and perhaps the big surprise and something of a mystery is that it involves something described only as a Chinese consortium, as a funder and a possible holder in future of 20% to fund a growth strategy.
But why would that be of interest? We know that the Chinese are invested in banks in this country. They invested in almost all the sectors.
For a couple of reasons. It's interesting partly because Dr. Survey has been talking a lot about, I think positively, about the value of bringing ownership home of our second biggest newspaper group. We don't know how much of the funding is coming from the Chinese consortium, but I think one must look at it because, a Chinese consortium, I suspect, must mean the Chinese authorities, the government in some way, and they're not exactly a friend of a free and open and critical press.
You may again find an argument from Dr. Survey and others that say, well, if they can invest in Standard Bank and if they can invest elsewhere, they are more than welcome to invest in the media.
Yes, I'm sure there will be interesting discussion and argument about it. I'm just highlighting the interesting aspects. I think the other interesting aspect is that our government pension fund earns 25%, and I think that will also be debated. But all in all, there was a single owner, and it was based in Ireland. Ownership now comes home. There's a number of small broad-based empowerment groupings of some sort involved. And of course, Dr. Survey's Sekunjala Group itself is new as a player in major media. So I think there's lots of interesting aspects of it that will be up for discussion, and I'm pleased it's now more open that we are able to discuss it. It would be good to know more about this mysterious Chinese consortium.
Sure, but Professor Harber, one of the complaints by Dr. Survey and people who have supported him is that this kind of scrutiny seems to be only focusing on Sekunjala and not other media groups. Will this be extended to other media groups as well? I mean, you spoke about the Government Pensions Fund, and it invests in other media groups as well. Will that be scrutinized?
I should hope so. I mean, there may be others who don't do it, but I certainly always try and look at issues of ownership and who owns what. But, we are living at a time when the ANC and the SACP and others have called for us to debate ownership, and I don't think we can debate ownership without going through the kind of scrutiny. I think it's quite a healthy, good thing, and I'm not sure it should be resisted.
All right. Professor Anton Harber, thank you for your time. Caxton Professor of Journalism and Media Studies. He's also Director of Journalism Program at WITS University.